Verizon hacked. They said they fixed it though. But wow, Trump threatens military deployment in Minneapolis. How many have you even heard of Minneapolis? And Greenland conflict threatens NATO. This is current events. It's January 15th, 2026, already halfway through the month. I wonder if that means it's going to fly. I'm Sot L. This is the foundation. That's Sot L, Seeker of Truth L, Speaker of Truth L. And let's jump into these current events. Let's do a dance. Make sure you check out welcome to thefoundation.com. Sign up for the email list. It's going to be a great year for the foundation. Luxurious. We do have currently continuing our 50% off the startup fee for any tier of trustee training. This is the automated, it's more learn at your own pace. We're going to be introducing our weekly, maybe we'll call it advanced trustee training, live with me, Zoom call, conference call. We haven't determined that, but it's, it's getting back into swinging things for, 2026. I'm excited. It's going to be about an hour once a week. Generally, it's going to be on Sunday. Straight up advanced trustee training. There will be a time at the end of every training for question and answer. So I think it's, much more interactive. People have been asking for it. That's the announcement. But still, we're doing 50% off the startup fee of any of the tiers that we currently offer. You have to email us, support@welcometothefoundation.com or admin@welcometothefoundation.com to take advantage of this offer. Or you can sign up just normally. Don't get a discount, whatever. The administration, the organization thanks you. But we want to make sure that that's out there. We did have a winner for the complimentary trustee training. I do know that there was an email sent out to confirm and whatnot. We'll announce the winner as long as, they can confirm that it's okay that we announce who it is. But the email went out. So, if you're checking this out, check your email. You see if you won the free trustee training silver tier. Let's jump into this. Silver. No, don't want to do the Google. Silver prices surge above $88 an ounce for the first time in history. Now up 210% in 13 months. As if you had silver last year and you have silver this year, you're happy camping. Why silver prices move so fast, and what is the silver price forecast for 2026? On January 12th, just a few days ago, silver reached a historic milestone, trading above $88 per ounce, the highest price ever recorded. The move capped a dramatic rally that began in early 2025 and accelerated through late 2025 amid rising geopolitical risk, a weakening dollar, and shifting expectations around U.S. interest rates. In just 13 months, silver gained more than 210%, far outpacing most major asset classes. And I would say, silver, gold, the price of silver and gold has an inverse relationship to the value of the U.S. dollar or the U.S. Federal Reserve note. So if you're going to see reductions in the value of the dollar, you're going to see increases in the value of gold and silver, what is known as real money. This is happening. This is happening. So currently, silver is trading at $91.60-ish. There's banks calling for $600 silver. Take $100, go buy an ounce of silver once a month, twice a month, every 2 weeks. You will thank yourself this time next year. It's not too expensive yet. It will be. Gold, I think gold is kind of out of there. How many people can just afford to throw $4,600 excuse me, at an ounce of gold? But silver is doing its dance, and it's still affordable. Look at that. Look at the moving average on that. Let's move forward. Oh, cracks begin to appear at the nation's biggest banks. They try to play us. Let's do this. This week, Bank of America, Citi, JP Morgan, and Wells Fargo released fraught earnings reports as President Trump's threatened cap on credit card rates loomed large. And we're going to talk about that, I think. Are we going to talk about that? We are. We'll talk about that next. So this week, the nation's largest banks reported a broadly disappointing set of quarterly earnings, the first stumble after a year-long spree of rising markets and softening regulations paid off handsomely for the finance set. Results of Bank of America, Citi, JP Morgan, Chase, and Wells Fargo all fell short of expectations, and their shares fell. Troubles range from delayed merger deals to stubborn expenses to questions about the efficacy of artificial intelligence tools. Banks that do business largely with rich individuals and corporations such as Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley fared comparatively better. Got cracks forming. Cracks begin to appear. That was the headline I was paying attention to. Live updates. Nope, I said next. We'll go back to that. How Trump's proposed cap on credit card rates could reshape consumer lending. So credit card debt with rates currently averaging 19.65% according to Consumer Financial Services company bank rate compounds quickly, particularly when borrowers make only minimum payments rather than paying off balances in full. This form of borrowing, known as revolving credit, can keep consumers in debt for years as interest costs accumulate and balances decline slowly. Subprime borrowers, or those in lower income brackets with weaker credit histories, are particularly vulnerable to falling into an adverse credit cycle as high interest rates, fees, and minimum payments slow progress in reducing debt. U.S. credit card balances rose to $1.23 trillion at the end of the third quarter, ended September 30th, according to a report from the Federal Reserve. Some consumers carrying existing balances could see short-term relief from lower interest charges. How will banks and consumer lenders be impacted? For banks and consumer lenders, an interest rate cap would cut into one of the most profitable lending businesses. Credit card interest rates can climb as high as 30% compared with an average rate just above 6% on a 30-year fixed mortgage. This is according to Bankrate. A rate cap would wipe out billions of dollars in interest income for banks and card issuers, analysts say, forcing lenders to rethink the scale and pricing of their card businesses. Quote, if this were to be enacted, there will be material headwinds to card profitability and likely result in card issuers tightening credit boxes meaningfully, particularly to high-risk borrowers, end quote. And an analyst at Barclays said it's analyst, and then what's below an analyst? Is it a strategist? I don't know. I'll tell you later. Quote, this rate cap would not address the root of the problem and could push consumers towards more expensive debt if the cap does not, man, I got stuff going off in the background, does not apply to other unsecured consumer products. It could push more borrowing away from banks into other unsecured loans such as pawn shops and other non-bank consumer lenders, end quote. Borrowing from the less regulated parts of credit market would increase risk for consumers already under financial strain. So, hey, instead of us fixing this problem, we're going to leave it the way it is, because if we fix it, then people are just going to go to pawn shops and stuff. I don't know about all that. But, it sounds good to keep your billion-dollar business model going. I think, people need to hope, you got Secret Service. But Trump, this guy, and the things he's doing, make sure that guy's okay at all times. Something, he's messing with some very powerful people with this stuff. Trump threatens to use Insurrection Act as anti-ICE protests flare following another shooting in Minneapolis. So apparently, they shot him in the leg. You may be up on this. You know, this is a national story, international story at this point. The Insurrection Act, President Donald Trump warned he might invoke the centuries-old law to deploy U.S. troops to Minnesota as state and federal officials clash over tactics used by immigration agents. Another shooting, law enforcement and demonstrators clashed last night near where a federal agent shot and injured a man after he allegedly assaulted the agent. During the struggle, DHS said 2 people came out of a nearby apartment and attacked the officer with a snow shovel and a broom handle. That's some Jackie Chan stuff right there. After the suspect got loose and joined the attack, the officer fired defensive shots, DHS said, striking the man in the leggings. High tensions, the CNN crew was hit with pepper balls after a kind of projectile was thrown at federal agents at an anti-ICE protest outside the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building. The FBI is offering up to $100,000 for information after several agency vehicles were vandalized last night. So this was happening. The Whipple Federal Building, I think that's in it's in Minneapolis. You got to understand Minneapolis and it has St. Paul across the river. They call it the Twin Cities. So it's 2 large cities right across the river from each other. Very similar to Dallas, Fort Worth. So we watching this. Who would have thought, this stuff would be going down over there? Crazy business. Keep your eye out. Verizon says it fixed its massive outage that left many without phone calling and data services. This is in a time where most people, I don't even know if they even offer the old school home phone service anymore, where you plug the phone into the phone jack in the wall. Because I remember your power could go out, but your phone would still work. This stuff is dangerous. Verizon said it resolved its hours-long outage that is believed to have left tens of thousands of U.S. customers without access to voice and data services. For much of yesterday, quote, today we let many of our customers down, and for that we are truly sorry. Yo, the outage left many without the ability to make phone calls, send text messages, or use data. You can't do nothing. Send an email, send a text, call someone. You're done, son. Smoke signals or something. Some on social media reported their phones being stuck in SOS mode or losing access to service. It's you're gonna see this a lot more, and then here, let me do this, because I know that the FBI said something about telecoms. Let me see if I can find it real quick. This is on the spot, y'all. Okay, here we go. No. Let me find this. Telecom firms to boost security following. Is this it? Here we go. Yeah, let's look. So, federal authorities, and this is in December of 24, right? Urged telecommunication companies to boost network security following a sprawling Chinese hacking campaign that gave officials in Beijing access to private text and phone conversations of an unknown number of Americans. The guidance issued by the FBI and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is intended to help root out the hackers and prevent similar cyber espionage. Cyber espionage. I failed you. I'm sorry, y'all. In the future, officials who briefed reporters on the recommendation said the U.S. still doesn't know the true scope of China's attack or the extent to which Chinese hackers still have access to U.S. networks. I saw an article last year where they were like, the FBI was like, y'all should be using encrypted apps. You should be using Signal and stuff. You should not be sending just raw text messages and making raw phone calls on the phones. Y'all should look that up. But I'm going to move forward. Trump administration probe of Fed's Powell sparks pushback. The Trump administration decision to open criminal investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell drew condemnation from former Fed chiefs and a chorus of criticism from key members of Trump's Republican Party on Monday following an unusually sharp public rebuke from Powell, calling the move a pretext to win presidential influence over interest rates. This is another one. This right here, credit card companies, you know, what he's talking about with the alleged central bank. You know, this, watch out for this guy. Make sure this guy is good. Make sure he is safe, is what I'm trying to tell y'all. You know, he's older. He's an older gentleman. He's an older. Take care of him. The investigation revealed late on Sunday when Powell said the Fed had received subpoenas from the U.S. Justice Department was approved and started by Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney in Washington and an ally of President Donald Trump, according to two sources with knowledge of the investigation. This office makes decisions based on the merits, nothing more, nothing less. Is what the attorney, the threat of indictment ostensibly focused on comments Powell made to Congress about the building renovation project, sent rates on longer-term U.S. Treasury bonds up as investors parsed what a less independent Fed could mean for inflation and monetary policy. If amplified, such a market reaction could constrain Trump's efforts to reshape the Fed, considered the most influential central bank in the world and a cornerstone of the world financial system. A rise in long-term borrowing costs could also backfire against Trump's efforts to address broad concern about, quote, affordability, end quote. The independence of central banks, at least in setting rates in order to control inflation, is considered a central tenet of robust economic policy, insulating monetary policymakers from short-term political considerations and allowing them to focus on longer-term efforts to keep prices relatively stable. Listen, this is a bunch of horse droppings. This is how monetary policy is made. Hey, if you know what inflation is, depreciation, listen, don't worry about this currency, y'all. Just use this currency to acquire real assets. Use the currency to get real assets. It's about to go down, y'all. It's about to go down. Stocks and treasuries calm after Fed indictment jitters. Dollar weakens. Trump's statement that he was considering military action after a crackdown on protests in Iran added further potential tension following the capture of Venezuela's married couple and suggestion the U.S. could try to acquire Greenland. Quote, anytime you have a new angle on something, the market reads it, trades on it a little bit, it has to digest it, and then it realizes this is just new news that's consistent with prior events and that have come out, end quote, said Jim Barnes, director of fixed income at Bryn Mawr Trust in Berwyn, Pennsylvania, who went on to say it feels as if the Fed is a tough institution to break, and so this is going to keep going on, though it's not going to go away. The persistencies will probably be there, and the market is just going to have to take it in stride. The dollar felt some pain, and when you see the dollar losing value, you already know that gold and silver is acting inversely. The dollar felt some pain with the index that measures the greenback against the basket of major currencies falling 0.34% to 98.90. But gold hit a record high above 4,600. Inverse relationship. Saks Global files for bankruptcy amid luxury market strains. You got companies, these companies going bankrupt left and right. Saks Global, the parent company of luxury retailer Saks Fifth Avenue, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy late Tuesday. The company had struggled with a heavy debt load following its purchase of rival Neiman Marcus. Saks was in a precarious financial situation before its Neiman merger, and the combination of luxury department stores failed to drive enough efficiencies to overcome the company's massive debt load. The merger was also ill-timed as Americans have shifted their retail habits in recent years away from big department stores. Some legacy retailers have struggled to keep up. Macy's closed hundreds of stores in 2024, and Lord & Taylor went out of business in 2020. Many shoppers have grown disillusioned with the luxury market, in particular complaining about higher prices for lower quality items. And those who are still shopping luxury are increasingly buying from the brands themselves in a direct-to-consumer strategy, cutting out middlemen like department stores. An uncertain economy over the past year hasn't helped with consumer sentiment in the dumps, a slowing job market, amping up anxiety, and a majority of Americans blaming the White House for harming the economy, according to a recent CNN poll. But you won't hear anything about the knockoffs. Yo, you have to be honest. And those of you who know, you know. Those knockoffs, the bootlegs, man, the bootlegs. How are these luxury companies making money with all these bootlegs? And these bootlegs are not that bad. It's diminishing the value of the brands. But, that's the quiet part that's not being said out loud. NATO ends if Trump invades Greenland. EU commissioner warns. Andrius Kubilius. He's the most senior EU official to have backed up Danish PM on her assertion that the Greenland issue could kill the alliance. Listen. Okay, so what have we covered today? Credit card rates, Booyaka shot. Taking shots at the Federal Reserve, Chair Powell, Booyaka shot. Now this man could potentially end the United Nations, man. NATO? I say the United Nations. I put it all together, baby. That's my bad. NATO, the North American Trade something, agreement, operation. Make sure Trump's okay. Make sure that man's okay. No one deserves to be physically harmed. Make sure that man's okay. Quote, I agree with the Danish Prime Minister that it will end. It will be the end of NATO, but also among people, it will be also very, very negative. End quote. The island is a largely autonomous part of Denmark, but that's colonization. President Donald Trump has said, the U.S. needs Greenland for its own security and that it must be owned by Washington to prevent Russia and China from taking over. An American military presence there, he added, is not enough to keep Moscow and Beijing out. Quote, I will also make it clear that if the U.S. chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, including NATO, and thus the security that has been established since the end of the Second World War. End quote. The statement contrasts, though, with that of NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. 3 times I tried, y'all, who today insisted the alliance is not in crisis. Conflicts, contrasts. It's crazy, though. Newsom, Trump align in plan to restrict corporations from buying single-family homes. Man, are we on 4 now? What was the first one? Credit cards. What was the second one? Jerome Powell. What was the third one? We remember. We just talked about it. NATO. 4th one. Corporations can't buy single-family homes. So that, puts a nice, crazy, I'm talking burnished steel, vibranium, monkey wrench in the whole you will own nothing and be happy, because that was part of the plan. Corporations was buying up single-family homes for the past years. I'm talking years. It's not anything new. President Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom are both pitching plans to restrict corporations from buying single-family homes. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a wonderful thing because, they keep buying. They're outbidding everything. They're pushing the market up, and they're pushing, the affordability lower for first-time home buyers and other peeps. You know what I'm saying? Quote, these investors are crushing the dream of home ownership, forcing rents too damn high, end quote. Newsom be tripping. I just humbly submit, I think it's shameful that we allow private equity firms in Manhattan to become some of the biggest landlords here. California Assembly member Alex Lee has been pushing to restrict Wall Street companies from buying more single-family homes in California for years. Quote, having the president and the governor certainly elevates it. And if you're an American family out there or a California family out there trying to buy a house right now, there's chances you compete with the corporation. New mapping published by the California Research Bureau shows there are more than 79,000 single-family homes owned by owners with more than 100 properties, with the private company Invitation Homes owning more than 11,000 homes in the state, man. And it's a private company in the state. Real estate appraiser Ryan Lundquist has been charting the institutional investing in Sacramento and says stopping Wall Street sales now won't suddenly solve affordability problems. Nope, because this has been going on for a minute. Quote, when you look nationally and in the state, it's about 1% of the units that large investors own. And I find that institutional investors, it's like rage bait for consumers, end quote. So, he's saying it's 1%. 1% is a lot of homes, though. Mr. Trump said that we'd be working with Congress. And Newsom said he would be working with the state lawmakers in the next few weeks. Let's see how this plays out. But, hey, that's wild, isn't it? I think it's wild. The good news was the credit card rates. That's good for everybody. A cap on credit card rates would be good for everybody if it doesn't lead to, credit cards becoming super exclusive again, like they were back in the 80s. But, there could be some good news in that. But, hey, that's it for current events. I appreciate y'all. Don't forget to email us if you're looking to take advantage of the 50% off. And I trust y'all enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night. It's very important. And, we'll do current events tomorrow. Peace, y'all.